Hello everyone, my name is Marissa and I'm going to do a tutorial today for the Potomac Bead Company. And for today's tutorial, I'm going to show you how to make this little ring that I'm calling my Faceted Flowers ring. And this ring matches my Faceted Flowers bracelet. And I'm wearing one here. And this is the ring I made to match this one. And this is the ring that I made to match the bracelet that I did in the Turquoise Picasso. So this is how they look, and they're very sparkly. So for this project, you will need round trios, and you will need 6. And I'm going to use I don't remember the name of the color because I lost the original package, but it's the black with the coating that it's the coating of the bluish purplish. So this is the round trio that I'm using. I believe I'm not sure, but it might be black Azuro. So I think that's the name of it. I'm not too sure. But when you see it online, you'll know which one it is. And these are exclusive to Potomac Bead Company. You will also need some rondelles. You will need 6, and you need a 2x3 color. I'm going to switch out, I grabbed my color light sapphire, but I'm going to switch it out to the Aqua. But you will need 6 of them, and they are the 2x3 Potomac bead rondelles. You will also need some seed beads. You will need 15-0 and 11-0. The 15-0 I'm using is the Miyuki Galvanized Champagne. My 11-0s I'm using Miyuki Galvanized Champagne, Opaque Turquoise, and some Czech black. And you do not need to use 3 colors of 11-0s, but you can use just 1, but I'm going to use 3. You will also need an 8mm bead. I'm just going to use a glass pearl, but you can use any kind of 8mm bead as long as it's round. I think I haven't tried it with any other kind of bead, but I think a round bead would work best. Like fire polish aren't as round. I don't know how that would work, but I mean, feel free to try. But if you want this outcome, you would need a round bead like that. You will need 1 needle, size 10 will work, and some beading thread. I'm using Wildfire beading thread in green, 0.006, and I've threaded on about a little bit over 5 feet. You will need scissors or something to cut your thread with. I'm going to use an Ultra Thread Zap, and just some flat nose pliers, just something to flatten your thread ends with. So go ahead and get your materials together, and I will show you what to do first. Okay, so your first step is once you have your string on your needle, you're not going to need a stop bead because we're going to tie a knot. The first thing you're going to do is thread on 6 of your round trios with an 11-0 in between, and you're going to pick up your round trios. You're going to put your needle in through one of your end holes. So not the middle hole, one of your end holes. So pick them all up like that through an end hole with an 11-0 in between. So you should have 6 round trios and 6 11-0 seed beads. Now I'm going to just tie a snug knot. I don't need that big of a tail, just something I can tie my knot with comfortably. And I'm going to tie this again and again. I'm not pulling I'm pulling it tight to get my knot tight, but not that I want to get the beads themselves so tightly together. Just the knot good and tight. Okay, so that's what I have. So now I'm going to go in through see, this is where I'm coming out. I'm in between a round trio and 11-0. Go ahead and put your needle in to that round trio next to your knot, and again, that same hole we're working with, that end hole that has a thread already going through it, and pull your knot into that hole. So this is what you should have, and the knot should be in that round trio. So now I'm going to go into the 11-0 next to it and the round trio after it. Same hole that we're using, that end hole with the thread already in it, and pull. Now I'm going to pick up my 8mm bead and go through it. And I'm coming out of this round trio. I want to go into the round trio directly across from it, the same hole we're using, which is this innermost hole, and I'm coming out like this. I'm going to go in the one across from it, that same innermost hole, but in the opposite direction. So like diagonally. So this is, make sure I have that same hole, not the middle one, like that, and pull. And then once you're coming out of your round trio, go into your 8mm bead again and go back into that same round trio that we first connected it to, which is this one, the one directly across from it. And you can see your threads anyway. See, I can see my threads. And you're going to go back into that same round trio, same hole, but in the opposite direction, and pull. And that will put your 8mm bead on top, and this is what you have. And we're going to cover all of that thread that's showing. So go into the 11-0 right next to your round trio, and we're going to go through each of those 11-0s, but we're going to add an 11-0, a rondelle, an 11-0 in between each one. So I'm going to do that now, and I thought I was going to use these, but it looks like I'm not, because then it's going to be turquoise and turquoise, and I don't want to do that. So I'm going to do black. Black, rondelle, black, 11-0. I'm coming out of this 11-0. I'm going to go into my next 11-0. And see, this is why it was important not to tie such a tight hole, because this is, you will have a little bit of a hard time. But the step itself is not hard. Pretty easy. Okay, so I already did that, and I'm going to do it again. 11-0, rondelle, 11-0. Go into your next existing 11-0. And try not to catch those threads, because you don't want to pull those threads that are attaching it to the 8mm bead. And I just put a ton of cream on my hands, and I'm having a hard time hanging on to my needle, but I will get it. Okay. So, whoops. I will get it, and here we go. Okay, so I went in through my next 11-0 in line, and I put an 11-0, a 2x3, and an 11-0 in between that one and the one before it. So keep doing that. Once you're coming out of an 11-0, pick up an 11-0, a rondelle, and another 11-0, and go in through the 11-0 that's already sitting there. So finish doing that around, and I'll meet you back. Okay, so I already added the round of 11-0s, rondelles, and 11-0s, and went in through each of the 11-0s that I already had there. In other words, the very first round that we put at the start of our project that went in between of our round trios. So I'm coming out of this, 11-0 here. And again, this is the 11-0 that was already existing there. Or in other words, the 11-0 that we put in first at the beginning of our project. So I'm coming out of that one. I'm going to go up through the 11-0, and rondelle that we just added, because that's next to it. And now we're going to go through each of the rondelles only, but we're going to add an 11-0 in between each one. No, we're going to connect. Okay, we're not going to add an 11-0 yet. We're going to connect all of the beads that we just added. So I'm coming out of the rondelle. I'm going to go in through these two black 11-0s that I just added, and I'm going to go through the rondelle after it. So I'm going through these. I don't know if you can see these coming out of this rondelle. I'm going to go through the black 11-0s that I just added and through the next rondelle. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put a thread in between all of the beads we just added. So we're going to go through all of them, and this time we're going to ignore the 11-0 here from the beginning of our project. So we're just connecting everything we just put. So go ahead and do that, and be careful to follow the thread path, because it's very easy to pick up the 11-0 like in a different direction. So pick up everything, just following your thread paths, and this is going to attach everything together that we just added. And I almost skipped this part, so I knew there was something wrong. So halfway around, and by the time we finish this step and we've gone all around, all of our 11-0s that we just added are going to be sitting up just the way they're supposed to. And if you can't get them all in one stick, it's okay, just be patient. So that rondelle, that 11-0, now I'm going to pick up the 11-0 and go through the rondelle, and I've already finished. Now we're going to connect all of our rondelles, but in other words, we're going to go through all of our rondelles, but now we're going to add an 11-0 in between each of our rondelles. So we're going to go through all of our rondelles, adding an 11-0. So I did one, pick up the 11-0, going to go through my next one. Very easy step. And this brings everything together really nice. Excuse me. I don't know what that was. All right. So everything is being connected. So it's looking very nice and neat. And that's the thing. We want it to look neat, because there was a bit of a space when you added your rondelles with your 11-0s. There was a bit of a space in between all those beads and your 8mm. So this brought everything in together really nicely. So here, this is my last one. I'm going to go through the rondelle. I picked up my 11-0 already. I'm going to go through the rondelle, and then I'm not going to go through the 11-0 I just added. I'm going to go in through the black one, the one I added before when I was adding my 11-0s and my rondelles. I'm going to go through that one that's after the rondelle, and then I'm going to go down, because I'm coming out of this black one. Now I'm going to go down to my 11-0 from the beginning of the project, the one that's right in front of the RounTrio, through that innermost hole, and I'm also going to go in through the RounTrio. So we just basically stepped down. So you should be coming out of the RounTrio, that innermost hole that we've been working with. So now we're coming out of the RounTrio, hop on over to the middle hole of your RounTrio, and here you are just going to add an 11-0 in between each of the RounTrios. And now here I'm going to use my turquoise. So picked up my turquoise 11-0, went into the RounTrio, pick up another 11-0, again, middle hole of the RounTrio, and this is what you're going to do all around. just going through the middle hole of your round trio. So go ahead and do this step and I'll meet you back. So I already added all of my 11-ohs in between my round trios, going through that middle hole. I added my last one. Now I'm going to hop on over to the last hole, which is the other outer hole on the opposite side of the hole that we started with of our round trio. So I'm coming out of this hole. See? So now here we're going to do, and I forgot to mention this, apologize guys, 15-ohs. So we're going to do 15-oh, 11-oh, 15-oh in between our round trios. So pick up a 15-oh, an 11-oh, a 15-oh, and go into your next round trio and line. Okay, so I grabbed my 15-ohs. Coming out of that hole, I'm going to go like this, 15-oh, 11-oh, 15-oh, through my next round trio. And I'm going to do that all the way around. 15-oh, 11-oh, 15-oh, through my next one. So these are all pretty easy steps. They're not hard, and you can do these little units in no time. And you get something very nice, very polished out of it. And it's not even a difficult component to do. So, almost done here. And then, once we do this, once we complete this step, it's up to you if you want to reinforce and go through all of these one more time. Okay, so I'm going through this last round trio. Now, if you want to reinforce that, go ahead and do so. I'm just going to go ahead and jump into doing the band. So this one, this is how I'm going to do the band. So I'm going to use one needle. If you like, you can tie off your thread, make knots, tie it off, and then thread 2 needles if you're not comfortable doing the band with 1 needle. Now I usually have a hard time because it's like right angle weave units, and I usually have trouble doing that with 1 needle. But I found that doing it with, instead of, well, let me show you. Because I'm going to use more 11-ohs than I would a regular box unit. So I'm going to put 6 11-ohs on my needle, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. See, whoops, in order to make a box out of these units, you usually do 4 beads to do a box, but we're going to be doing 8. So I found that I have an easier time doing this, keeping it nice and polished looking when there's more beads rather than just a few beads. And I'll show you in a minute what I'm talking about. Now, once you've done that, go in through your round trio the way I just did, and then just make a little unit out of it. So through the outer hole, I just reinforce that. So I'm going to sew through to the middle 2 beads, and this is what I have. Now on a regular right angle weave, instead of doing 2, 2, and 2, it would have been 3 beads with this unit, with this little piece here counting as the other part of the box. But instead of doing 1, 2, 3, I did 2, 4, 6 and went through my round trio, and that helps keep it tidier, at least for me, when I use more beads, when I use 6 rather than the 3. Okay, so I'm coming out of the middle 2, and I'm going to pick up 6 more beads. And I'm going to do 2 champagne, 2 turquoise, and 2 champagne. And the ones I'm coming out of, those will serve as my 7th and 8th beads. So go in the opposite direction, and you just want to reinforce to keep it tidy, and go through each section, each 2 at a time, because that will also help keep it tidy. If you just like get kind of sloppy and go through them all at once, you might ruin the shape of your box. So this is what I have. And even then, the box isn't that perfect looking, but once you add the second part to this, it's going to make it come together really nice. In other words, once you fill in here, it's going to make it really nice. So I've reinforced. I'm going through my middle 2 beads, coming out. Now I'm going to do that again. I'm going to do 6. 2 champagne, 2 turquoise, and 2 champagne. Coming out of these 2, I'm going to go in through those same 2, but in the opposite direction, like that. And then when I'm done, I'm going to reinforce, and I'm going to keep doing it until I have enough to go around my finger. And I will show you how I end that. So I'll be back. Okay, so I did the number of units that I need. And once you have enough to go around your finger and you're satisfied with it, you need to end it here at coming out of your middle beads. So once you're doing that, you're going to connect it to, I'm coming out of, my band started here at this RounTrio, so I need to connect it to the one across from it. So I'm coming out here, I'm going to connect to this one, and I'm going to pick up 2 beads. I'm going to go through my RounTrio, being careful not to catch my 15-ohs. Then I'm going to pick up 2 more 11-ohs, and I'm going to go through these 2 middle beads that I was coming out of. Well, let me do this one at a time. I'm going to come out through these, I'm going to go in through these 2 in the opposite direction, so that's going to connect all of this together, and I'm going to reinforce this. So I'm going to go through these 2 again. And I'm going to go through the RounTrio, that same outer hole, not catching the 15-oh from the grouping that's there. And then down these 2 that I added on this side, these 11-ohs. So now I'm going to fill in, see how it looks like a ladder? I'm going to fill in all these places here that look, I mean, you can just tell. You can just tell where they need filling in. So I'm coming out of these 2. I'm going to pick up my 3rd color, my black. I'm going to go in through the 2 11-ohs that are already there on the side. And I'm just going to pull enough to where that's in there. I'm not going to pull too hard. That way my band will stay nice and pretty with good tension on both sides. If I pull, I'm afraid if I pull it too hard on one side, that one side will stay tighter or shorter than the other side of my band, and it'll look weird. So I'm just going to pick up an 11-oh. I'm coming out of these 2 here. I'm going to go in through these 2, and I'm going to just pull in enough. I'm going to pull my thread just enough to get that bead in there, not pulling it too hard. So I'm coming out of those 2. I'm going to go in through these 2 and pull. Coming out of those 2, put in another 11-oh and pull. And my ring is about a size 5, and I know that for it to fit me on, I just count these in the middle, and I have 9 sets of these in the middle, 9 sets of turquoise beads in the middle, and I know that will fit me, that many will fit me, and it's about a size 5. So there. I do have unusually bony fingers. My brother used to call them crypt keeper hands. He said I had crypt keeper hands, so how about that? So I'm almost done. Okay, these two, and then I'm going to pick up my last 11-0 to fill in. I'm going to go through these two here, and then I'm going to go through the RounTrio again. Do not catch any of the grouping after it, which is the 15-0, 11-0, 15-0. Then I'm going to go down through these two 11-0s. It's part of our band, and I'm going to pull. And now here we're going to fill in again. We're going to pick up an 11-0, go through these two 11-0s on the side, and again pull just hard enough to get your bead in there in place, and then keep filling in your band. And this is why I like to do my band 3 colors, because I like seed beads and I just like how it looks when you use 3 colors. It looks really pretty, really cute, and really fun too. So plus I just love seed beads, so whenever I can incorporate different colors, I usually will. So 11-0 and goes here, and this is coming out very nice. Go through these two 11-0s, and out of those two, one more 11-0 through these two, and I'm just going to pick up one more. And if you want to reinforce going in through your band, zigzagging in through your band to reinforce again, you can do that. So this is what we have. Now I'm just going to go in through this RounTrio again, and I'm going to pull tight. Well, now I'm going to pull tight, and now I'm ready to tie my knots. So I'm going to go down these two, tie a knot there, and then go into the seed bead after it. Okay, so I grabbed on my needle about 5.5 feet of thread, and I have a lot of it left. So it's safe to say you'll be good with maybe 4.5 feet. So I'm going to tie another knot here. And again, it all depends on the size of your ring, but even if you do a size 10, I don't think you're going to need this much thread, so use your judgment. And I'm going to tie just a few more knots here, coming out of these two. Do a loop, go in, pull, and there's my knot. And then I'm going to bring my knot into this 11-0 and pull, do another loop, there we go, and there we go. Okay, so here's our ring. I'm going to cut my thread. Very simple, very cute. So this is what we have. I'm going to put it on this one. So this is my newest little Faceted Flowers ring. And these are the colors I have made. And this is what we got. Very nice, very cute, very simple. And it matches the Faceted Flowers bracelet. So go ahead and have fun making this little unit, making it into a ring. Also, I think it would look great making several of these and making a necklace out of them. I don't know how earrings would work. I don't know if they'd be too heavy, but go crazy with a little unit and see what you can come up with. But here, this is what we have for our ring. This is what we got. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and thank you very much for watching.